Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just talked about some of the upset bids, including NIU knocking off Notre Dame in South Bend. Just one of those things for Notre Dame. You can almost bet on it annually. They will lose a game that they have no business losing, and this was that one. Maybe there will be another one down the stretch, but as of right now, they have a lot of questions in South Bend, I can promise you that. But let's get into this last segment here, and we're just going to do a little bit of a whip around, and we got to start with Utah. They had a big-time win, 23-12 over Baylor. This was an out-of-conference game, just to remind everyone. Definitely a very weird one, but this was out of conference. We'll have another one on Friday with Kansas State, Arizona. That will be out of conference as well before we get into Big 12 play. But Utah gets the wins. It could have been much worse, but at the end of the day, Cam Rising left with an injury, and he hurt his throwing hand on a late hit out of bounds that was not that great. I did not like that one bit, but at the end of the day, they are without him for the time being. Isaac Wilson, the brother of Zach Wilson, took over at quarterback, and it was stagnant. There's no other way to put it, and frankly, I would not expect anything different from a young kid making his appearance against a Dave Aranda defense. So nothing against him at all. I think he's one of those kids that's going to be really talented, but he got thrown into the fire in this one. The Utah defense just controlled this game, holding Baylor to barely over 200 yards, 3 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, just all over the place, including a blocked field goal return for a touchdown. So they dominated pretty much all 3 phases of this game, but you just got to keep coming back to Cam Rising. They absolutely need that kid. There's no two ways about that. They need him on the field, and they need him healthy. And they got Oklahoma State in a couple of weeks. And if Isaac Wilson is the guy trotting out into Stillwater to play that game, I can almost promise you that's going to be a loss. I think Isaac Wilson is a very talented quarterback and will be very good in time, but I don't think he can handle that. I'm just being totally honest. Cam Rising, I think, is one of those guys that he's probably okay. He did give a thumbs up to the crowd when they asked if that means anything to you guys. But at the end of the day, we'll keep you updated on everything you need to know because this is it. We talked about it going into the season. Utah is a team that if he is on the field, they can win pretty much anything in front of them. If he is not on the field, they're going to have a tough time even getting in Big 12 contention. So they got to figure it out very quickly. They got to hope that he's more healthy, and I just hate it for the kid more than anything else because he's put in so much work to get back to where he is, and to have it taken away because of a dumb play more than anything else, it just got to be really annoying. But at the end of the day, hopefully he's healthy in a couple of weeks here and they can hit the ground running, and this doesn't have a long-term effect, but every time he goes down, you just hate to see that headline roll across your Twitter page. But moving on to Oklahoma, they escaped on Saturday, and this was a game that I pegged that was going to be close, and it really was. It was a little bit closer than I was expecting, frankly, but Oklahoma has an O-line problem. There's really no other way to put it. This is a Houston front that is good. This is a Houston front that is not great and not even close to what Tennessee is going to have in a couple of weeks, what Texas is going to have in the Red River rivalry, what Alabama is going to have later on in the season. They have a problem, and if they don't fix it quickly, they're going to get torn to pieces in the SEC, just being totally honest. And it's going to start in that Tennessee game where they just go to work on this team. But they do have a really good defense. They were able to hold Houston, were able to get a safety late in this game to save them, really. But at the end of the day, ran for 78 total yards, 2.8 yards per carry. Jackson Arnold was under fire the entire game and was off the mark on a number of throws because of it. It felt like he was one of those guys that you're standing back there and you're just expecting someone to get through, so you try to get rid of the ball just a little bit too quickly. It was clunky at times, that is for sure, and it's one of those big-time worries that once you have a young quarterback mixed with a not-so-great offensive line, some of those mistakes that could not be as aggressive become very amplified very quickly. So Jackson Arnold could be one of those guys that leaves a lot on the table, and it wouldn't be his fault by any means. So 7 of OU's points came off a turnover inside Houston's 10-yard line. So for 42 minutes of this game, they were absolutely down. And for 42-plus minutes, the only points that Oklahoma scored were a safety towards the end of this game that gave them the win. So it was gross. There's no two ways about that. Oklahoma has really, really big problems to fix, and if they don't fix them before Tennessee comes to town, it's going to look a lot like that NC State game. It might look a little bit better because that defense on the other side is so good and one of the best defenses in the entire SEC, but at the end of the day, this was gross, and it's one of those things that Oklahoma fans had these worries coming in. They're being amplified more and more as we get throughout this game, or throughout this season. Moving forward to their former rival, their real rival that they should be playing every year, Oklahoma State beats Arkansas in double overtime 39-31. This one was crazy, and I have never seen a team try to lose a game quite as hard as Arkansas did in this game. It was remarkable to watch the mistakes that happened for Arkansas down the stretch. They were up 21-7 at halftime. Then to start the half, they went punt, fumble, missed field goal, downs, and Oklahoma State was right back in the game. It was just terrible from Arkansas in the early parts of the second half. And then shout out to Alan Bowman. He made every play that you needed him to make throughout this game. Ollie Gordon was fully in check. 17 carries, 48 yards, got a touchdown, but overall, Arkansas just bottled him up all day. And Alan Bowman made the necessary plays. Didn't necessarily put up gaudy numbers by any means, but definitely did what they needed him to do and was really, really impressive for me. But overall, on the other side of the ball, this was the moment for Sam Pittman. I think there was a moment early on in this game where you were thinking, man, if they can win this one, they get a ranked win over Oklahoma State, they move into SEC play, maybe feeling a little bit more confident. They have some playmakers with Taylon Green and Jaquindon Jackson and Andrew Armstrong. They had guys. Maybe they can make some noise, and then it all came to a screeching halt very quickly. So it's one of those teams that you knew it wasn't going to be a pretty season. You knew it wasn't going to be great, but at the end of the day, they have 5 ranked teams ahead of them. 4 of them are in the top 7, so it could get really ugly. But Jaquindon Jackson and Andrew Armstrong are absolute dudes, so maybe you can win a couple of games here and there that you don't expect to win, but at the end of the day, this is a game that Arkansas should have won, and the fact that they didn't might just send them on a very bad downward spiral. Moving on to LSU, this is one I won't waste too much time on because at the end of the day, LSU was able to win this one pretty comfortably, but they did pull away in the fourth quarter. I believe this was a 2-point game going into that fourth quarter, and they were able to get it done, but this defense still has problems. They were able to let a couple of guys get loose on some big plays, and more than anything, that was really the extent of it for that defense, so not necessarily too aggressive of a bad job by this defense, but there were a couple of really, really bad moments in terms of just run fits and getting just blocked off the line. Also, the run game can't get going. And this is one of the best offensive lines in the entire country. The fact that they can't run the ball is just outright insane. They should not be in this position, and it shouldn't be on Garrett Nussmeier to make every single play. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. They do go to South Carolina where game day is going this upcoming weekend, and those 2 tackles against that pass rush is going to be really fun to watch. I can promise you that. But overall, LSU gets a pretty comfortable win, but still has some of those issues that you saw last year, and they're fixed a little bit, but not to the extent that you want them to be going into SEC play. Illinois got a huge win over Kansas this weekend, 23-17. Really impressive win from Illinois in this one, and it was kind of a back-and-forth affair until you went to the fourth quarter, and then it belonged to Illinois. In that quarter, the possessions went Kansas punt, Illinois touchdown, Kansas punt, Illinois field goal. That was almost a 7-minute drive, and then a Kansas fumble to finish off the game. So it was really impressive, Illinois' closing ability in this game. Luke Altmaier did exactly what you need him to do, which is just execute. It doesn't need to be pretty. It doesn't need to be perfect. He doesn't need to make the Caleb Williams type plays. He just needs to put the ball downfield. He just needs to put the ball on target, and he found Zachary Franklin a ton in this game, and that's a very talented player for Illinois that could cause problems for just about any defensive backfield in the entire country, and man did he against Kansas this weekend. For Kansas, you can't have Jalen Daniels give up the ball 4 times. That just can't happen. If you're going to win games, Jalen Daniels is a guy that needs the ball in his hands. So if he's going to give the ball up 4 times, you are not going to win a lot of games. And it's one of those things that you have a really good run game. Devin Neal and Daniel Highshaw are going to be fantastic for you. You're not going to beat a lot of the Big 12 teams you need to beat down the stretch if you can't do both, and if you can't take care of the football especially. So that's something they're going to have to figure out. One of the worst performances from Jalen Daniels we've seen in quite some time, but overall, a huge win for Illinois. Kansas, still plenty ahead of you, still plenty to figure out for sure, but at the end of the day, still everything on the table for Kansas, and Illinois, maybe a little bit more on the table than we once thought. Arizona escaped Northern Arizona in this game, and they have a really big-time issue. They have Kansas State this upcoming Friday, and the script to beat Arizona is just about as simple as there is a script around the country, because it's the reality of stop T-Mac. If you can stop T-Mac, you win that game. He had 2 catches, 11 yards in this game, and the only reason Northern Arizona was not able to win was They didn't have the athletes to win. I promise you the Big 12 does. So if the Big 12 can stop T-Mac, which is easier said than done, but frankly, if Northern Arizona can do it, then I would bet Iowa State can do it. I would bet Kansas State can do it. So at the end of the day, if that's the way it's going to be, Arizona's not going to win a lot of games, plain and simple. If that's the only offense you really have to speak of, Quali Conley has played really good football and was their leading rusher in this game, but was also their leading receiver in this game. So they still don't have another wide receiver option, and if you can take that one guy out of the game for Arizona, you're likely in a really good spot to win, which was what Northern Arizona was for a long time, but the defense played well enough for Arizona to win that one. But it's clear for every other Big 12 team out there that is about to play this team, you know exactly what you have to do, and if you do it, you have a pretty good chance to beat this Wildcat team. Syracuse got a huge win over Georgia Tech, and this was the Kyle McCord show. 32 for 46, 381, 4 touchdowns, just went to work on this Georgia Tech back end, and had some choice words on the sideline if you saw that. But at the end of the day, this is one of those games where it started bad, so Tech was in a really bad spot. Tech is not a team that is going to be able to come back from behind. They are very monotonous. They, chip away at you. They break you or they kill you by a million paper cuts. They don't go down the field. They don't make those big explosive plays. So Syracuse able to get out in front of them made all the difference in this game. So huge shout out to Syracuse. I think when you look at this game, they dominated pretty much from start to finish. Georgia Tech was able to get a couple of crazy drives towards the end of this game to make it look a little bit better, but at the end of the day, this Syracuse team is putting together a really good early part of the season, and I think with Kyle McCord playing this confident in the football, they have a chance to make some noise. Now, they still have NC State, Virginia Tech, Miami, Boston College on the schedule, but let's say they can definitely beat 3 of those teams. Let's say they beat 3 of those teams. They might just be in the ACC title. So a crazy, crazy thing to talk about. But Syracuse, maybe Kyle McCord was the only thing missing from this team. And Fran Brown coming over has made all of the difference. And I'm sure he will send Ryan Day even more gifts after this week because that guy is downright special over there in Syracuse, at least right now. And then to finish it out, I talked about this one last week, and I made a prediction that Clemson was going to win this game, but they were going to struggle to find their offense. What a dummy I am, because Clemson went to work on offense in this game, and it's not necessarily saying that they're going to be able to go to work the rest of the season, but K. Klubnik had 2 incompletions. He had 5 passing touchdowns. Phil Moffa had 118 on the ground on 10 carries. Bryant Wesco had 130 and a touchdown. Jay Burningstool had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Everyone got into the play, and everyone made really good plays in this game. Now, this is not necessarily the elite App State team that they've had in years past, but this was a dominating performance, and it begs a couple of different questions. Is Clemson okay on offense? Do they have all the guys that they need to? I think they're a little bit better, and I think Bryant Wesco coming along is going to be huge for this team. But at the end of the day, they still got some things they have to figure out. And if they play that NC State game in 2 weeks and look incredible on offense, then I'm on board. But as of right now, I'm still a little bit skeptical. And then the other question is, how good is UGA? Because they dismantled this Clemson team, and then Clemson, I don't know if it was an energy thing, I don't know if it was an anger thing, I don't know if there was more at play than just them being that much better than App State, but if that's how good Georgia is, then good luck everyone else, just plain and simple. I mean, if they're going to beat a team that goes to work like this on a Saturday, 34-3, it's a terrifying team. So overall, there's a ton of takeaways, but maybe the biggest one is Georgia's downright terrifying the rest of the year, as they have been for the past quite some time. And as for Ole Miss, Missouri, Miami, USC, Louisville, all your fans, don't be mad at me. Your team just really took care of business. I did not need to waste time on your team because they're just going about their business the way that they should be. So overall, an incredible week 2. And we will continue into tomorrow talking about all the games because we didn't even get to Cal Auburn. That was absolutely crazy. We didn't even get to South Carolina just dismantling Kentucky at home. So we have plenty others to get to throughout the rest of the week. But that'll do it for today, at least, for this edition of the GSMC College Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It does make a huge difference for us. Also, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all of the social pages for all the content and updates you could possibly need. We have really incredible people doing awesome work across every single sport you could want. So you're a basketball guy, you're a football guy, you're a football gal. anything you need, we absolutely have you covered on the GSMC Sports page. So come on over and we will totally have you covered everything in the world of sports. But thank you once again for listening, and I will see you tomorrow for more reactions from the Week 2 slate.